Good evening, everybody. We're going to give everybody about 30 more seconds to jump in while we get everything going. We are live tonight on, of course, our studio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok.
Yay.
So we are live tonight with an important podcast. But before we can start, we're going to go ahead and play our disclosure. Again, TikTok, you will not hear a disclosure during this time. Let's see.
Ying Yang the podcast does not own rights to any background music or noise you may hear. This podcast is completely opinion based and may include adult content, adult language, and verbiage not suitable for any underage viewers. Information found in this podcast may not contain exact accuracy as it is opinion based. Please listen at your own risk.
All right. We're going to welcome everybody officially into Ying Yang the podcast for February 3rd, being the first Saturday of the month, as we discussed before. This is a sponsored podcast by My Stable Mind, which
Yes.
is owned by Yang. These are sponsored podcasts, meaning that, of course, not only will she be kind of hosting them, but she's going to kind of take the ball, and I'm going to kind of ask questions this time because this is stuff that she is more familiar with, for the most part. Tonight is PTSD awareness. So, mental health awareness is always the first Saturday of every month. So, keep that in mind as you're watching our podcast. And with that being said, I am going to pass it to you.
Yes. Thank you. I was just about to say that again. So, what we're going to be doing on the first Saturday is just bringing awareness to mental health. And each Saturday, we're going to talk about a different condition. And like this first Saturday, we're going to start it off with PTSD. Now, Matt Yang, like, do you know, like, a lot about or anything about PTSD?
I do. So, at 14 years old, I was diagnosed with PTSD, due to some childhood trauma I had went through, and that trauma created, um, really. I was actually diagnosed with complex PTSD, um,
Yeah, I was too.
and oh, okay, but it brought on like nightmares, and I had a lot of problems with being in public, and it also created the diagnosis of social phobia that I carry, which is the fear of embarrassment, not the fear of crowds. So that is where the PTSD is actually what brought on that phobia. But yeah, no, so I know a lot about it, but I can't say I know a lot about it like medically. I know what I went through with it, and that's it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what people like. They hear about it, people talking about it, news and movies. Usually, a lot of people know about it from like how it's portrayed in like in the public eye, like on movies and such like that. And a lot of people like relate it to like people that's been in war, um, that served in the military because the flashbacks that they get from that. But it's a lot more like anyone can get PTSD from any type of trauma. So let's talk a little bit about, let's get a little medical real quick and see. Let's go ahead and tell you what PTSD actually stands for. It actually stands for post traumatic stress disorder. You see, I had trouble saying that. That's why we're just going to call it PTSD.
Yeah, so that's a tongue twister for me too.
Right.
Um, and I actually used to get it wrong. Like when I was a teenager and I would tell people, I'd be like, no, I have PSD. And they would be like, what? And I'd be like, post syndrome.
Post syndrome.
I, d-
I
I
would have
don't
been
even know
like
what I thought the
PTT.
D stood for. But yeah,
I'm just
that's what
gonna
I called it.
listen. I'll say one, either the T or the S. On PST, PTS, or something. I'm not gonna get it.
I got PT. Girl, you got part time.
I got
Physical
PT.
training. What is PT?
That disorder, that flashback disorder. That's what we're gonna call it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so but yeah, it stands for post traumatic stress disorder, which is really just like a medical health condition that affects individuals who experience or witness a traumatic event, like in
Okay.
their daily life, relationships, overall It's just like it affects your whole well being actually. So
Hmm.
it impacts every part of your life on how you act, on how you associate with people, how you not associate with people. So it really affects a lot in your life, and it can turn your life upside down just by having it. So um, it is stems from that trauma, those events, and like you said, you have been diagnosed with complex. Complex is actually um, like it says, complex, a higher level than the classic or regular PTSD. Because you have the, PTSD, I guess we're gonna call it standard, and then you have the complex, which is people who been in ongoing um, traumatic events, like it happened multiple times, and it causes a complex version of PTSD. So those are the differences, and it has different there's different symptoms with each one of those and different like treatment options based on which one did you have, whether or not you have the standard or the complex.
That's actually what I was going to ask when I raised my finger a second ago. Like, do the two have different symptoms? Like, how
Mm-mm.
did they determine that I had complex versus? But I think that you answered that in what you just said.
Yeah, we can
Um,
dive a little bit deeper into it because, like, okay, let's start with the standard PTSD. Some of those symptoms include, like, the flashbacks, like I was saying, those, like, the vivid memories that you get from that traumatic event, that you can feel it like you're reliving it right then and there, and it causes the PTSD. You get it from nightmares. Um, Everybody know what nightmares is. We ain't gonna talk about what nightmares, dreams that scare the hell out you. So those are
mhm.
nightmares. Um, Avoidance is another symptoms of the standard PTSD. Individuals um, they go through great lengths to avoid reminders of that traumatic event. So if you're avoiding people, places, or any activities because it reminds you um, of what happened, then I do that too. I do avoidance um, heavily. So I can tell you that is a real symptom because I would avoid and ghost people and things in a heartbeat. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably one of my what you call it, petty peeves, being petty. People call it being petty. I don't care. I call it avoiding shit that's gonna make me feel traumatic.
See, and that's some people call it avoidance. I call it healing because for a long time
Hmm.
that's the how I thought you were supposed to heal, and that's wrong, by the way, guys. Avoiding it does not heal you.
No, it don't. Trust me, it don't. You got to find a way to release it or get it out, move, to overcome it. Not forgive and forget, but forgive and move on so you can gain your strength and your life back. But yeah, avoidance is real. Most people probably do avoiding as one of their main symptoms. I think more people probably do avoidance than flashbacks.
Right, right.
Right.
Flashbacks are real too, though, guys.
Yeah, it is. When you have that overwhelming feeling of that where you felt like reliving, that's the thing. You relive at that exact feeling. You get all of the feelings, emotions, the visions going on in your head. Everything is just like actually like you reliving that same time over and over again. That same trauma over and over again. So yeah, the last well, I got a couple more symptoms I just want to touch base on is we gonna, I'm gonna try to say this word, okay? Yang, go ahead and laugh at me now because I'm gonna try to say it. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but we're gonna say it. It's it's hyper vigilance. I
That's you actually said it right. It's
actually said it right.
hypervigilance. Yeah.
Hyper vigilance. Okay, so do you know what that means? Because I'm just gonna I can give you like what I think it means, what the book
What
say
do
it means, but
what do
we're
you
gonna say
think it means?
I don't even know how to say it, so I know I probably don't. I ain't gonna guess it wrong. Well, right here it says it's a heightened sense state of alertness. But we're gonna put it in layman's terms for
Which
y'all.
is also what?
Leading, huh?
What is who else has a hyper sense of alertness? We did a podcast on it a couple weeks ago.
Girl, you know my memory. I do 300.
Empaths.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how I talked about how empaths that actually stems from a trauma in your past that makes you more aware, and that's how you become an empath? That's what it is. That's so now you know what I was referring to when I was talking about empaths.
Empaths,
Empaths.
yeah, because we did. Now remember that we did, and you did say that most empaths uh, get their powers, we're going to say, from going through a traumatic event. So
Yep,
that does
that's
make
what it
sense.
is.
Yeah. So yeah, so hypervigilance can lead to, increase in the irritability, can't concentrate, ADHD probably. So I think I got a little bit of that too.
I'm starting to feel attacked.
Right. I think I got a little ADHD too. I probably got a whole lot of shit wrong with me, but and the last one, or for the well, not really, not the last one, but like you, people with standard does experience like emotional numbness, and I can contest to that. Like you get real numb, detach yourself from emotions, detach yourself from
Until you begin
relationships.
to heal, guys.
Yeah, because I would avoid you, and I would go through numbness, and while I'm detaching, because I will hide in my house, and I will not talk to you. I will put my phone on do not disturb and go to my quiet space and don't come over. See, that's why I have people know don't
Which
come
she
over.
still does. Just for the record, she still puts her phone on D&D.
Oh, it's on D&D
So
right
we
now.
know.
It stays on
See?
D&D. Listen, my phone, no lie, my phone stay on battery saver and D&D like 99% of the time. Like if
So,
I
and
pick up my
I know
phone.
this is completely off subject, but I just learned, and I actually learned this from her when I was there last time, that if you put your phone on D&D, you can list some people that are your favorites that you'll still accept calls from.
Mhm.
And if I would have known I could do that, I would have been putting my phone on D&D a long time ago. But I just found out from her, and now I know how to do it. Now I do
Girl,
it. But
I just found out how to use D&D. I mean, I knew the feature was on the phone, but I never paid no attention to it. Never really used it to see what it was all about. But when I found out and what it really does, I was like, oh, this phone about to be on do not disturb. Leave me a voicemail, and when I feel up to it, I would check it. But I got my favorites. If you ain't that important, you is not on my favorites list, and you can't get through. But I do got a set. So if you're not on my favorites and you call me twice within 15 minutes, then you can come through. Then it might be an emergency that I might need to talk to
you better quit broadcasting that on podcasts before bill
you.
collectors hear it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, they get blocked. Okay, so there's a difference between D&D and block. So if you go on call and to get through for some foolishness, you're gonna be on the block list. So you can get the D&D or you get the block. To take your pick because it's fine either way with me. It's fine with me. You can go on
um,
D&D or block. It's up to you. You want to what you call it? You want to abuse the D&D features or the privileges of D&D? You can go on block. Listen, block you out my life. Oh god. Okay, so the last symptoms of the regular is your negativity, like basically having negative thoughts, negative beliefs, just being a pooper head and just being all negative.
being a pooper head. That was the most grown up thing I've ever heard you say. But no, it makes sense, and that's actually a good way to put it because it's not really their fault that they're being negative. You know, that's
Right.
stemming from a area of that wall being up and needing to protect themselves, their emotions, and their heart. So, that negativity, it comes off aggressive sometimes, but the flip side
Mhm.
is people got to remember if you meet someone that's always negative, they are probably struggling with something you're just not aware of.
Right.
Because
You
there's no
just
reason to
gotta.
hate every moment of your life. And that's speaking from someone who's been through some stuff.
Mhm.
So and you still see me
Right.
on here smiling and doing what I got to do,
Yeah.
and
You can sometimes you gotta
because
introduce people negative because they don't know how to do. They probably don't know how to set their healthy boundaries and don't know how to,
right,
really work that to it is beneficial to them. So they are so negative.
right.
So that negativity lives there because They need to set those healthy boundaries. Don't cross this line. Don't come inside my box. So you messing with the energy. You got to get the boot.
So,
So
if those are all of the symptoms for regular PTSD, like PTSD
standard. We calling it standard.
standard. Okay, standard PTSD. I don't know why I keep quoting PTSD because it is PTSD. Just ignore my finger quotes, guys. They're apparently just showing up when they want tonight.
Yeah,
So,
because
I'm going to just put my
standard.
hands under my legs and try to quit talking with my hands. So what what additional symptoms then make it complex, or is it completely different symptoms?
Also, additional symptoms. Yeah, I was just about to jump into that. So, some symptoms that makes it complex. 'Cause complex is the ongoing. Like you've been through it. It
Right,
didn't
and I was
happen
pretty
one
sure that I
time.
had all of the standard PTSD
Yeah,
symptoms
most people
also.
like.
So,
Yeah, see, I got complex. I have all the standard, and you have additional ones for complex. So, a
okay.
lot of people who has the complex PTSD do have, or will have all of the symptoms, or everything from the standard. So that's why you got everything from the standard. I got everything from the standard too as well.
Okay. Well, now I
Yeah,
feel a little bit better because I was like, dang, maybe they
right.
misdiagnosed me.
No, because we're special because we're more jacked up.
I got to hear this now.
So listen, I'm
Jacked
just
up by
trying to.
like more messed up. Oh,
Yes,
okay. So when you first said that, I thought you meant like jacked up, like we got more caffeine in our body, we have more energy, like ADHD.
girl. No, we talking about PTSD.
I know, but when you said jacked up, that's why I was thinking energy, like it out, and I was just
I
over
was
here
just
talking with my
trying to. You know
hands
what?
and
I was trying to be polite and not cuss. So I was trying to think of a word that was replace the cuss word that was in my
we
head.
were. We'll just do this.
We're just gonna use your quotes. So you're more complex. We're gonna be complex. We're gonna be complex. Okay. So, we make fun of everything, so it's okay.
That's how we
So
deal.
yeah, yeah, I'm all jacked up. Anyway, symptoms of complex includes emotional, we're gonna butcher another word. Emotional dysregulation. Oh, I said it right again. I'm
You
betting
said
that
it right.
proud.
Yep.
So what's dysregulation? We're playing
I just want to say
dictionary
really
terms.
quick, I don't know what that noise was that just happened, but it was like on perfect point with the end of that word that she said it correctly. So whoever or however that happened, keep doing it when she says words correctly. It was great. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, someone said that. Okay, I said it correctly. Okay, so individuals with the complex may struggle with intense and fluctuating emotions. Mhm. They find it challenging to manage and stabilize their moods. So basically, I guess it sounds like it means like it's like being like what the other one was, like a detachment. What you think? Like, well, no, not really detachment.
So the
Stabilizing. So you're having problems
stabilization,
stabilizing your moods or stabilizing your feelings or dealing with your feelings.
what that more or less means for those that don't understand, like, and I only know this because I also have BPD, which is also like with BPD, it's more you are unable to control your emotions as much as your moods. It's moods also, but it's more your emotions. But the stabilizing of moods means like 1 minute you're okay, we're good, we're happy, we're having a good day, and then an hour later you're angry, you hate the world, and you're probably gonna break a few plates. And I speak on that from experience because I've been there and
Yeah,
done it many a time while I was fighting to get better.
girl, you put it like that. Yep, been down that road too. That's why those places is in business. Where you can go in there and rent
Rage
out a
rooms.
room and you can just break shit. I
They're
want to
called
go to
rage
one.
rooms.
Oh,
So
okay, can
me
we go
me
to
and my mom
one?
are talking about going to one. But yeah, you can come with
Okay,
us. We can all go together.
right? Can we go to a restaurant? I just want to just break shit or punch a hole in a wall or take a sledgehammer and put some
Yeah, they
holes in
have
some
one like an
shit.
hour from my house. It's not that bad at all.
All right, next trip to the mountains. We coming to going to the rage room.
Well, and girl, I live in the mountains. We can literally just take a hammer out to the mountain.
I'll be too scared to fall off that damn mountain.
She not be acting like y'all. She be acting like when she out here that all the one rock's gonna fall and the whole mountain gonna crumble. I don't know where she watched way too many Wild E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons growing up where things were just like falling apart and blowing up. But she really be it's not her fault though. She really be thinking that that's gonna happen. Go ahead.
I guess that's part of my PTSD. You know, what I'm saying? It might
There
fall
you go.
down. You know, it's gonna fall. I'm gonna fall off it. It's just, it's not meant for me to do this. Are we supposed to be on this mountain? Like, I really want to know who was the first person who went up the mountain and was like, "This is a great place to live." Like, who the fuck was that dude? Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. It's like
I bet
it's
you I bet you he had complex PTSD and he was avoiding the outside world. I bet you that.
he's trying to find this a way to ghost motherfuckers. He was just like, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
go up this mountain and I don't want to be bothered. Leave me the hell
Yep.
alone.
That was their version of D&D.
It probably was. It probably that's a. I'm gonna go up this mountain. Do not disturb because nobody's really gonna go up there. It's like and the first people who what you call them first I guess construction workers who actually had to pave the road to the mountains. Like who signed up for that? Like I'll take that one, sir. Like all right, boss, let me get that one. I'm gonna pave this road to the mountains. Nah, give me the alley. I want the alley. I paid the alley. I don't that mountain. No, we're not doing this. Okay, we're getting way off topic. I'm in my feelings about this mountain. See, that's
And it's
probably a
like this
sentence
every
too.
time we talk about it. That's why it's so funny for
You're
me.
triggering me.
Uh,
See, that was a trigger. That's a trigger. I need to tell my therapist.
uh,
This she triggering me. That's a trigger.
uh,
That's a
all I
trigger
did
right
is
there.
invite you to my house. Gosh.
You triggered
But I
me,
do
and
live
I
up a
triggered.
mountain, guys. Like straight, like up a
Upper
mountain. Yeah.
mountains. Yes. Okay, we're gonna stop being triggered. See, this episode is triggering me too much. Okay, so another symptoms of the complex is difficulty in forming relationships. I can contest to that because I have major trust issues, major fear of abandonment, major challenging forming and maintaining healthy relationships because I ghost people all the time. So yeah, I'm probably number one on the list of this symptom. This is one of the my main ones. How about
Me
you?
too.
You
Oh,
too?
absolutely. I mean, the healthiest relationship I've been in is the current one that I'm in, and this is ever in my
Yeah.
entire life. Um, and that's only because I had to heal.
Mhm.
And honestly, I wasn't completely healed walking into this relationship.
Me
He
too.
had to show me that I wasn't going to be abandoned, and he had to show me before I would even start to believe that we were an item.
Right.
Um, and
Girl,
there's
I'm
still
somebody
moments.
too.
I still have, and I'm sure that you still have moments too. Like I'll call her out of nowhere, and I'll be like, I'm pretty sure he's leaving me.
Girl, I still give my boyfriend hell. I give him hell every day. It's like I'm surprised. listen, listen, struggling. When I tell you struggle, the struggle is real because I'm gonna test you.
Mhm.
I'm gonna test you.
I'm gonna do
So
everything I can to make you leave before I ask you to stay.
see, that's how you know they're willing to stay and put up with all of your psychoticness. Cause listen,
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't got no psychoticness. My
me neither.
um,
I
I'm
guess
not
I'm not.
crazy.
I'm not crazy neither.
No, I'm damaged.
I'm a
I
little
don't know
effed
if I'm
up.
supposed to say that. And it's not really a thing to make fun of, but it's the reality of it. And anyone that's ever
Right.
had PTSD or is currently working on a PTSD treatment, etc., will tell you the same thing. Your brain feels
Hmm.
broken. You
It
don't
really
think like other
does.
people do.
And that's like this. The another symptom I wanted to touch base on too is like the negative self concept. Like you don't think like other people think. You don't. You have the feelings. You feel guilty more. You feel shame. You feel, and it could be like the superest, just silliest thing. Like, you know, you grab the red Kool Aid instead of the grape Kool Aid. Look, I called it red instead of like cherry and shit. But never mind. You grab the wrong thing, and you feel guilty because
Well, hell's bells.
right, because you could be like, somebody be like, I wanted the red Kool Aid, and you grab the last one, so you're like feeling guilty because the other person may said something about you grabbing the last one, and you would like ruin your whole afternoon, your whole day, the whole week because somebody mad you grabbed the wrong one. So yeah, anything
And
can
I
trigger
can
that.
elaborate a little bit on that. And I'm only comfortable sharing this just for the record because a lot of people aren't comfortable sharing their past stories. I'm
Hmm.
only comfortable sharing this because it's literally published in my book. So if I hadn't put it out there for the world anyways, I probably wouldn't be as comfortable sharing it. But my traumatic event was molestation by a distant family member that started when I was really young.
Hmm.
And then very very years later, y'all, I don't know I can't talk today for some reason, but a lot of years later, I was going to say very many years later, and I don't know why, but a lot of years later, um that individual who did those things to me ended up taking his own life. And instead of being logical and being like, okay, well, clearly he struggled with his mental health his entire life also, my brain went into, oh man, he realized how bad he hurt me and he took his own life. And so I felt shame for his suicide for years after it happened. I actually had to go into intenser therapy during that time. Well, not during that time, but a little bit after that time because I felt so guilty for what he did to himself. And I felt so guilty that he did it and he had a family, you know? So it was one of those things where you can't control that shame or that guilt that
You
eats
really
away at you
can't.
either.
You
It comes
can't.
out of nowhere and it takes you over. It consumes you.
Girl, with me, I just finally really spoke on it just recently. Like
Right.
really spoke about what happened to me, like as far as like for like telling my parents that it happened when I was younger because nobody, it happened and nobody knew, and because of that shame, I was shamed and guilty. I thought it was my fault. I thought, and I didn't want nobody to know it happened, so I held on to it. But now it eats at me. So at 40, I'm just now saying, hey, this shit happened when I was younger and I need to process it so I can not let it affect me. But yeah, I get that feeling that shame. Even now, some things that I do or don't do, like my day to days, that feeling to set in too. That shameful feeling or guilt, um,
Mhm.
about things of your decisions. And it's hard. Like sometimes people struggle with making decisions because of what happened, or they constant reminder. So yeah, that's
It
very
never
very
goes
big.
it never goes completely away. It always kind of sticks in the back of your head. Like I logically as and I don't want to say completely healed, but as a majority healed individual that's worked really hard to get to where I am in my mental health. Um I will say that I'll still have moments in time or days that pop back into my head where I'm like, man, if I would have just told him I forgave him, maybe he wouldn't have
Hmm.
put his family through that,
Right.
but
I go
and the
through is
sucky
like,
part is it's not my burden to carry. I didn't do anything
no,
wrong.
it's not. Even though, like with me, it's I don't want to talk about it. Like I held it in so long, I didn't want to talk about it, and still don't want to tell about all the details because I don't want. I guess I feel guilty about how it's going to affect the people that did it to me. So it's like,
And the only thing I want to say to anybody out there that feels like that, anybody, I don't care who you are, if people wanted you to speak better of them, then they would have treated you better. This is your story to tell. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Cat Williams said that. No, he didn't. He took that from a famous writer. I am not quoting Cat Williams. Um, but that's the absolute truth. If people
hmm,
wanted you to speak highly of them, they would have treated you better. It is your story to tell,
that's a good
and
point.
you choose how you want to tell it and who you want to tell it to. And should the day ever come that you tell it to the world, the only person that can be upset about the fact that the story was told was the person, and the only reason they can be upset is because they're guilty.
Hmm.
There's not a way to take those items back. And it could be as little as you stole my Legos when I was in first grade. If it hurts your feelings and it was never addressed, it hurts your feelings, it was never addressed. Your feelings are valid regardless of what they are.
That's true. And that is so true. We hold on to that guilt, and how we overcome it is letting go of that guilt. But it's a hard step to let go, a hard process, and that's part of treatment. I'm jumping ahead, but I do want to touch base on one other major symptoms of the complex PTSD that I think is important is identity disturbance, and I can contest to that too, because you have a lost sense or a broken sense of yourself. You make it difficulty to establish your identity, who you are, and you second guess. Like I second guess just about every decision I make. Did I make a right choice? Did I not? Even though like I just recently purchased a new car, and I second guess the whole process. Did I pick the right car? Am I making a decision? Should I hold off and go to a different car lot after I've been to five other different car lots? So am I making the right? Even after I put down the down payment, it's like, did I make the right decision? Did I sign? I already signed the paperwork, but did I do that right? Is that right decision to make? So I second guess everything. Is like having that identity disturbance or broken identity is a real, because you don't have that. I guess it all boils down to you lose that confidence you have in yourself.
Well, you got to think about it. You were constantly second guessing everything that you believe because everyone in the world is telling you, like for instance, with my situation, that was an extended family member, but as an extended family member we saw on a regular basis.
Hmm.
And everyone was telling me this was a great family, and oh, he's so intelligent, and oh, he's going to do so well, and all these different things. And the entire time I'm knowing what happened to me, and I'm going, well, dang, maybe I'm the problem. So you
Yeah.
start your entire journey thinking that you're the one that was wrong, and then you're trying to figure out how you can be a better person to a world that has no idea of why you're trying so hard. I was like the happiest kid in the world.
Hmm.
The librarians used to call me Smiley, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're always so happy." But little did they know, like I was crying myself to sleep every single night. And it's one of those things where you put on such a big front for the world so that you can be a normal part of society, that you lose yourself in that, and you get caught up in, like, who am I really happy, am I sad, am I
Hmm.
overreacting? It's a big deal.
It really is. It really is. And you go through that process, and that's how it makes it complex, because it's so hard for you to let go of that train of thought.
Yeah.
And the other last symptoms I want to go touch base is the disassociation. See, I almost said that wrong. Disassociation. Dissoci- Disassociation.
Disassociation. You're saying it
Disassociation?
correctly. You said it the first time correctly. It's when you started to repeat it that it started to sound silly, but it's disassociation. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, that was so that's the main difference with the complex. You have those additional heightened symptoms with the complex PTSD. So you
And
have
the
those and
easiest
all
way
the
to
ones from the standard ones.
and for those of you that don't really know what disassociation is, like, I can kind of the easiest way to explain it to people honestly is you don't believe that sex and love are the same thing, so you disassociate the emotion from something that should be an emotional event.
Hmm.
It's the easiest way to break it down so that a lot of people understand. So I'm just going to leave it at that and we can move forward.
Yeah, you could have hit the nail on the head. So, what you think? We talked about what is PTSD. What are your thoughts? I just want to know your thoughts real quick on what do you think some causes of PTSD is, or where some causes. We already know it
So,
because while anyone can experience trauma, when anyone can experience trauma, not everybody develops PTS from the trauma that they experience. So, what else you think can cause the PTSD?
So we know that like childhood, you know, sexual acts can. So that's, all the different versions of that. And I'm just going to leave that at that. I would think that witnessing a murder or witnessing a someone pass, even having someone close to you pass at a very young age, um, I would think that, ooh, like young children in a hurricane, that could create some kind
Mm-hmm.
of trauma. Anything that could scare, anything out of the norm that could scare you or change your direct course of life.
Right.
So, even if it's something as simple as you were riding your bicycle and you fell down a hill and you got several rocks in your knees, that could create a PTSD with bicycles that, etc.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So now, I was just about to say, Adam says I give him anxiety with my driving. So later in life, he might have PTSD from that. So, just saying, that's an example. So we,
Whew.
so that's how it kind of goes, flows. But anyway, so the standard, we got the quotes, the standard PTSD, some causes stem from like severity. You have to look at the severity of the trauma. Like is it more, severe to life threatening type, that type of thing, of the event, the trauma event. Um, the duration of the event, a duration of the trauma, like the prolonged exposure to that can develop that PTSD. Lack of
Okay.
support with the trauma or with the traumatic event, life of, I guess you could say, the aftermath of the trauma. So the
Hmm.
lack of support during that process, and any other mental health issues you may have alongside of any other previous trauma other than that, one event. Because PTSD, people can get the standard PTSD from one traumatic event.
Hmm.
So if you have other traumatic events or either other mental health issues, that can lead to developing PTSD as well. So
That actually makes a lot of sense.
that makes no sense, right? It's like a big eye opener, really. So some real quick, some complex causes would be like you were saying, the child abuse, the physical, emotional, and sexual abuse during childhood can usually leads to complex PTSD in adults. Um, Neglect and domestic violence. So I got all
Hmm.
three of them. So my PTSD, complex PTSD, does come from childhood abuse, neglect. I experienced that in during childhood as well. Domestic violence experience, went through all that. So that's why I have a really complex version of the PTSD, complex
That
version of
actually
complex
makes a lot of
PTSD.
sense.
So because I got
I've
all of
I
that
can say
together.
I've never really experienced neglect directly. But as I got older, when you have any form of PTSD, it's really again hard to maintain relationships. So a lot of my
Right.
neglect and abandonment issues stem from early relationships as I went into adulthood.
Right.
So
And my
I'm
neglect is not, look, I'm gonna clarify that, but because you have two different versions of neglect. It could be physical neglect
emotional or
and
physical.
emotional neglect. So my neglect really comes from mostly comes from, I should say, the emotional side. I got emotional
Hmm.
neglect. Like I wasn't really neglected physically. I was abused physically, but not
Yeah, and I wasn't really neglected emotionally.
neglected.
I just didn't tell anybody. So nobody knew what was going on until it was way too late.
Oh Lord. See, you almost like me. I waited till I was 40, but like, hey, something's going on.
Yeah, no, I did it a lot sooner than you. I was
Yeah.
14 when it all
I was like,
came
I
tumbling
12 when I
down.
was 12. Oh my God. So some treatments. So real quick, before we're gonna talk about a little bit about treatments, and then we can hit some stats that I think are so I need to bring awareness to some statistics. And then um, you know, we got about 15 minutes. So some treatments, we can do therapy. Therapy is one of the biggest treatments for PTSD.
Hmm.
I'm going to say medication. Not everybody agrees with medications. Everybody have their own opinions about medications. I'm not really a big fan of medication. If I don't have to be
So
on medication, I understand medication, but I just
I
don't
just
really
want
care for
to
it.
throw this out there really quick while you say medication.
Mhm.
Because if you look down our feed for the last week while we were preparing for this PTSD podcast, there were multiple people that brought up on their microdosing. And let me say,
Mhm.
I am not at all against microdosing. I have learned a lot about it over the years. I think it's a very wise decision for some people.
Mhm.
However, I think that if that is a decision you're going to make, you need to speak with that. I'm sorry, y'all. My brain's not working tonight. Speak about that with a physician. Even
Yes.
if you're not comfortable talking to your direct doctor about it, you need to talk to your therapist, somebody about it, because microdosing can also cause you a lot of harm if there are certain things wrong with your health.
Right.
So before you go out and make decisions like that,
Mhm.
whatever, because I'm all for holistic treatments. Holistic treatments are the thing to me. But I'm a hippie at heart, so I don't really like
Right. I
medicine. Don't
prefer
think I
that.
would take it.
Yeah, I prefer a herbal approach other than, a pharmaceutical approach.
But you should
But you
never do
do
any of that stuff without a
stuff.
doctor's.
Doctor. Right.
And they might not ever give you like a sign off on it, but at least they could say,
Educate you. But I
right,
know you have the final say what you put into your body, but you can get educated and the doctor can tell you, like, you have high blood pressure and I have you on such and such with your blood pressure or your type 2
right, and
diabetes, and
microdosing
this
can right
can
can
write you.
spike your heart.
Right. And then you can make an educated decision whether or not you want to microdose or not.
Yep. So, and I just wanted to address that because so many people brought it up on the page that I just wanted to say that it's not something I disagree with at all, and I know a lot of people that it's worked for. I
Right.
just don't think that you should do it without a physician knowing.
Right. That's agree. I am totally agreeing with that. And the other treatment I want to touch base is on support groups, and there's an abundance of information on there, and there's a lot of support groups out there that can help you if you have someone to talk to. It's what stemmed me to even start my stable mind is because I wanted to be there to support others and let people know that they're not alone. You are not alone in this fight. Mental health affects a lot of people, and I want to try to erase the stigma that's out there that we don't need to talk about it. That's something you don't need to talk about. Something you need to hide. No, if it helps you to get it out, you are not alone. There's we better look at the stats, but there's a lot of people out there that's fighting with something, and that's why I want to start my stable mind. I started my stable mind to educate, be there for people, about and let them know they are not alone. They are not alone in this fight. We are in this together. Just know that we are in this
Right.
together. You are in this together. We're in this together. We're in this fight together. You're not alone. You do not have to fight these feelings alone or nothing. So you need a support group. They're out there. Um, Stay tuned to My Stable Mind because they're going to be different, like I said, life coaching and training videos out there that are going to help you get through things. If you're not in the group, in my Facebook group, you jump up in there because there are going to be some things
Do
going
it.
on this year that I'm going to amp up because people need to be supported. There's not enough awareness on mental health, so I'm really going to be shining that light. And another thing that leads me to the other one is for lifestyle changes. So that's why I'm going to be helping out with those lifestyle changes with my stable mind. So stay tuned with that. I just want to say, and then just a couple of treatments for complex versions because complex you got to dig a little deeper with complex because we're special. So that complex is the trauma
See, I
focused.
just want to say I like special a lot more than jacked up. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with special. Yeah, yeah. Maybe that was kind of low key, but yeah, maybe I don't know. Low key is not really the right phrase. Anyway.
It was high key. Do
So
you say
high
high key
key.
if it's the
I don't
opposite?
know. I don't. You know what? It's probably not even close to what I was thinking. But anyway, to treat complex, we're gonna need some trauma focused therapy. You know what? We're gonna need
Mhm.
some therapy, not just standard therapy. I guess we're gonna need some focused therapy, some behavioral therapy, some mindfulness practices, along with that medication
Mhm.
to handle. But now let's get into some of the some statistics so we can see how common PTSD is. I said that wrong, right? I was just gonna try to
Listen,
go.
I love it though, because every time that you have said statistics, you have said it wrong. So it just makes
That's
me
why I was
giggle.
going.
But I know that it's just a word, and it's just one of those words that catch people up. But it's so funny to me. I just love it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, because I was gonna blow past it like it wasn't even a thing until I
Until
seen
I
you
was
laugh.
laughing.
You was laughing, and I was like, "Oh my god, she know I said it wrong. Everybody knows I said it wrong. TikTok know I said it wrong.
Listen, your complex PTSD is showing.
For real, for real. I'm gonna need a microdose after this." Oh, okay. So PTSD is really, really common, you guys. Really common. So
Mhm.
I got these let me get shout out to singlecare.com. I got these statistics I'm gonna say stats. I got these stats from singlecare.com just to let you guys know I didn't make this stuff up. So I didn't make up none of these numbers. Go out there to Single Care and you can find out that I'm telling the truth. Okay. So Canada actually has the highest rate of PTSD. And they studied 24 countries, but Canada was like the highest. Probably because all that cold. Is Canada part of a mountain? I don't
Listen,
know.
listen,
Isn't it? It's
Sheena.
just too cold anyway.
We need to have a geography lesson really badly, because this whole afraid of the mountains thing. Like, so does that mean you afraid of Canada now too?
I don't know. Canada is too cold. I'm not going to Canada because it's too cold. But other people, let's come back to the United States. Okay, so in the United States, it says there's 20% of people of everybody in the United States who experience a traumatic event. They said 20% will develop PTSD.
That sounds normal.
hmm One out of 13 people in the U.S. will develop PTSD at some point in their life. One out of 13. And there's
Mm.
an amount of mild, moderate, and severe cases that are nearly equal to 36.6% of case. 36.6 cases are severe. 31% um, were monitored, and I said that wrong. And 30% was mild cases, other cases out of United States studies. So
That's a lot. But
that's a
I mean,
lot.
there's a lot of people experience PTSD. It's honestly, besides anxiety, it seems to be becoming one of the most common mental illnesses.
hmm And we got millions of people in the United States, so I don't know the number of people in the United States. Probably
Alexa, how
about
many people are in the United States? Stop. 342 million people.
okay. So out of 342 million people, 8 million people in the U.S. got PTSD. In any
A
given year,
year,
you check.
right?
Yeah, in any given year, you check the stats. 8 million people. That's a lot. At least 8 million people in any given year has PTSD.
Mm,
And
gosh, that's
PTSD
crazy.
affects more than twice as many women as men.
Oh, oh, so is now a good time to bring up the whole Me Too movement? I don't know if you remember that movement, but
I remember that.
the Me Too movement, I mean, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that it happens to everyone, but I'm saying that there sure are a lot of Me Too's out there.
Mhm. A lot of women. So, like other 8 million, you said twice as many women. They say about 10%, 4%. It's a 10% women to 4% of men.
Yep.
Mhm.
So out of every 100 cases, 10% of
Mhm.
those cases, well, 10 to 4. So out of 100, that would be what? 10 to
Girl,
4. That's
we
only that's a yeah, we're not good at math today for some reason. I'm
no,
not even
we're
good at
not good at.
speaking today. So,
No, me neither. Pronouncing words, everything is off today. So you were saying earlier about like the causes. You were saying some with like you said child abuse, sexual assault, shooting, gun violence, and stuff like that. So let's
mhm.
talk about some statistics. Oh, I said it. Stats about
Math.
per per trauma. So with sexual assault, let me see here. There's like 49% of the cases come from sexual assault. So of that 8 million people who said they got PTSD, 49% say it came from a sexual assault.
Okay.
32% says it comes from a severe physical assault.
Okay.
16.8% from a serious accident,
All right.
car accident, an accident.
That makes sense.
Like you said, shooting or stabbing victims, 15.4%.
Mhm.
An unexpected death of a loved one, 14.3%.
Okay.
Parents of children with a life threatening illness, 10.4%. And I didn't
Mhm.
even really think about, that causing PTSD, but I could see how or why that would cause PTSD. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I
people,
think that goes both ways, like parents of children or children with parents that,
yeah, that has a disease that the child is taking care of that parent. Yeah, I can see that too. And you said earlier about witnessing a violent act. So witnesses of a violent act is 7.3%.
Okay.
And like you said, hurricane natural disasters, 3.8%. So look at what was the number at the top? Sexual assault. That's a shame. 49%.
Yep, and now again, I want to add that it's double the amount of women.
Double the
Me
amount
Too
of women.
movement.
Mm. Oh Lord, 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 Lord. So would you I just those stats just
So
really hurt me.
do you have any stats about like people getting better or like treatment stats or anything like that?
Let's see. Oh, this is another good one. 44% reported COVID-19 pandemic affected their PTSD. So people who had PTSD says 44% say COVID affected their PTSD. Maybe it made it
I
worse.
agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It made
Because
mine
that
worse at one
isolation,
point.
yeah, living in isolation and being in fear of getting COVID
Mhm.
or I know a lot of people probably develop PTSD from COVID.
Mhm.
Um, I got sidetracked. What was your question again? What do I have
I think
stats
you're
on
actually right on it. Yeah, like stats on treatment.
treatment? Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Let's see. 41% of reported PTS events occurred in childhood or adolescence. That's what we were talking about, the childhood abuse. And a lot of people don't know when their symptoms occur or when they when they first get that start developing PTSD. When they know when the event happened, but a lot of people start developing PTSD long the line, long down the line because it can last
Mhm.
a long time. I do have stats on treatable. I know that's what's towards the end. Um, 63. Here's a good number. 63% believe PTSD is treatable. Do you would think PTSD is treatable?
PTSD is it is definitely treatable. And I can tell you that it never and this is someone I have been in therapy since I was 14 years old on and off.
Hmm.
Um I have struggled with my mental health, PTSD, BPD, those things my entire life. Like since I can remember. PTSD is definitely treatable as long as number 1 you find the right therapist,
Hmm.
number 2 you actually try. But it doesn't mean it doesn't still linger. Like
Hmm.
I can have a really, really bad day and I come home and sometimes all of those memories and things still rush back. And I still, in August of every single year, my entire life, I have bad dreams. Um,
Huh?
August is the 1 month every year that I prepare myself with my anxiety meds up front, um, because I know that it's going to be a rough month for me. And I know that the dreams are going to come back. And that might even be a trigger that brings them back, is knowing that they're going to come back.
Back.
Um, so when I know those things, but you also, when you're trying to get better and you're trying to get treatment and things like that, you learn your triggers. And that's the biggest part of PTSD, is learning your triggers.
Oh
If you know
yes.
your trigger, you know how to remove yourself from a situation without it becoming another traumatic
Traumatic.
experience in your life.
Yes, learning your triggers is very, very important. And that will be like the first thing you will learn to do in therapy is to identify your triggers so you can know how to address it, avoid it. If you do are triggered, how to get through it. So yes, knowing your triggers are very, very important in
Hmm.
handling and treating PTSD. So yeah, 11% of people believe that it is treatable. That's a low percent. 11%, and 20%, 26% say they just don't know. They just don't have enough to make, I guess,
And
the
let me,
educated.
I think that's a fair statistic too, because I have met many of people over my life that don't believe in mental health, which is strange. And it's only strange to me because I was diagnosed with my disorders so young, and I
Mm-hmm.
fought so hard to get better and deal with those disorders, that when people are like, "Oh, mental health isn't real," I'm like, "What?
What?
That doesn't make sense." Like, um so when you're
Mental
not
health
sure if
is
something
real
makes,
and necessary.
right, right. And then also, like, and I'm not trying to push nobody away or make anyone angry, but the people that are like, "This is how God intended me to be. I don't need anything to help with that." God never intended for people to have PTSD. That came from a different traumatic experience in your life. It's
Mm,
not like the guy up above was like, "And you have PTSD, and you have PTSD." And no, it came from somewhere. Someone else or something else did something that caused that PTSD to happen.
right.
That's not God.
That's somebody here that inflicted that on you and
Yeah,
made
that's
you
a
develop
worldly
that.
thing,
Yeah,
and it
worldly
needs
thing.
worldly treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's good that you said it because, like, looking at this statistics, it says nearly 1 in 5 respondents did who people who responded saying they did not seek treatment. Um, that's 1 in 5 said they did not seek treatment at all.
And it's hard. It's hard to seek treatment for that, especially the older you get. I just happened to be at a time in my life where I did something. I did, I attempted suicide. And so when I attempted to do that, which by the way was in August of that year, when the dreams were way too much for my brain to finally handle. Um, you know, that pushed my parents into pushing me into therapy and pushing me into trying to find out what was going on. And but it was a blessing in disguise that I was so young to figure it out, because there are so many adults that at 30 and 40 years old are starting to realize that they have these things that have stopped them from progressing in their life for so long, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to then deal with it, where I was able to deal with it for years prior to. So I was able to come to my sense of self and my stability and my triggers long before other people were, which also makes me feel like it's a little bit easier to help those people and talk to other people about it because I've been there.
Yes,
So,
that you living through it makes you a great person to help someone else get through it.
mhm.
Yes, but yeah, these are different therapies. Like I said, different people want. Let me just start that over. Like I said, 18%, 18% of people did not seek PTSD treatment, and we're still talking about the 8 million people um,
Okay.
that has PTSD in the United States. Like I said, that's 1 in 5 people did not seek it at all. Now, the other treatments, like we said, were therapy, medication. So 49% of people said they tried psychotherapy, the talk therapy.
Wait, I have a question.
Hmm.
If 1 in 5 people didn't seek treatment at all, how did they know they had PTSD?
Going, being diagnosed, I would assume.
But if they never seek treatment, how do you get diagnosed at all?
Like for
Or are they
me,
just
like I
guessing?
was in, like I was diagnosed by being in the hospital for something totally different. So like I guess you can be diagnosed if you go seek
And then do
treatment. Like
nothing
I'll go
with
to
it.
my doctor for chest pains, and the doctor's like, "Well, let's find out why you're having chest pains." And they have to find out you having chest pains because your anxiety. You got anxiety because you of your traumatic event, and they just say, "Oh, you have
Got it.
PTSD." But there's like
And they just don't treat it. So it's
we're
kind of
not
like
going to treat it.
people, kind of like the people that find out they're diabetic but don't
Keep eating
take their
ice cream.
medicine.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm a
right.
diabetic, but I'm gonna get me this chocolate ice cream and these cookies and eat all of this bread and not take my medication.
Okay, so no, that would make sense. Okay, you can continue. Sorry.
No, that's great. I had to. Yay, you have a question? Somebody else might have had that same question. We had to break it on
Because when
down.
you said it, it was, I don't know if it was how you worded it or what, but my brain was
It
like, well,
probably
how do they know
was.
that? How do they know
Listen,
that if they didn't seek
listen.
treatment?
I'm still over here tripping that I can't say the stats. All the way out. So it's probably
Statistics.
so it's probably because I said it wrong. Anyway, 41% of people look. Oh no, no, nose ring fell off. 41% of people has tried antidepressants like medication.
Okay.
33% of people tried coping strategies. That's just not doing therapy, not doing medication, just finding
That's what
ways
I do
to
now, just so
coping.
everyone's aware. I use
Yes.
coping strategies now. That's how learning your triggers. That's what I was talking
I was just
about.
about to say that. You got to learn, know your triggers to do the coping strategies. You got to know your triggers. Um, 24% have taken medication for specific PTSD symptoms, such as like sleep aids
Specific.
for specific, specific,
Specific.
specific. Okay,
It's the
like
S's. It's the
just
S's
the
that mess
S's.
with her.
It's the S's, right? Sleep aids for insomnia. It's like so, 24% of people just take medication to like for their other symptoms, I guess.
I used to take sleep meds, and that's because it stops the dreams.
Hmm. 23% of people have tried cognitive behavioral therapy, and that with part of therapy with a counselor or therapist,
Right.
licensed therapist, I should say, a licensed therapist.
Yeah, that
Six.
doesn't mean you're home girl. That don't mean you're home girl. You don't get to call up Shakira and say, "Hey girl, let me talk to you. Let me get my therapy session done." That don't get you help. That gets you
Right.
friends.
Yes, and that's not googling on the internet neither. So
Guilty.
okay. Anyway, 18%, like I said, 18% did not seek treatment. 16% has tried alternative treatments such as yoga, acupuncture. I had a
Hmm.
pause on that one. Acupuncture and massage therapy. I need a massage right about
Along
now.
with microdosing. Microdosing is
Yep,
considered an
microdosing.
alternative.
Yeah, so that will fall in that 16%. 8% has tried cognitive reconstructing. 8%
Yeah,
also
that's
tried
what
exposure
trauma.
therapy. Part
Those
of
are
trauma
trauma
therapy.
therapies. Yeah.
hmm 4% had tried virtual reality exposure.
Okay.
That's interesting. I
That's
didn't
a
know that was a
newer
thing.
technique. Me either. That's a
Yeah,
newer
that was
technique.
like that's like
So
it's a newer technique. I don't see how that helps, but that's okay. Um, that was interesting to see how that plays out, though. I might look more into that. Um,
that would
cause
actually
that's
be
I'm
really cool if
really
you did. We could post
Yeah, I'm
something on the
really
page about it later when we can research it, y'all.
right. Yeah, because I'm really intrigued about that now. I'm trying to see how that connects. Okay, 3% had tried other PTSD treatments. 3% said they tried a MDMA assisted therapy. Not really sure what that is, but if you know what that is, 3% people tried it. So that's
The
there's a
good
lot
thing,
of
the best thing about those last stats that you read, and this is just my opinion, is that it's telling me that people are trying.
yes, and that just leads me to my last stat is like only, but it's a low number, but only 8% of the people who sought treatment reported that it was not effective. But actually, that's a good
Boom.
thing. That's a good thing because
Boom,
it's a
right
low
there. And that
number that is
alone
not
tells you. And those people that are saying it wasn't effective probably have complex PTSD and were not seeking, or not, I don't want to say not seeking. They may have been seeking the right therapy, but they weren't provided the right therapy. So
right,
therefore, it's not effective,
right. And,
or if they were misdiagnosed as
hmm
a standard PTSD, but it was really complex PTSD. Standard PTSD treatment will not work for people with complex PTSD, period.
no,
It won't, because there's so much more to dig into when it's complex.
right. You need that trauma focused therapy. You need that focused therapy.
So,
Hmm
this all together, I just want to say this was an amazing informational session. And I am personally looking forward to all the rest of the ones that we're doing, because I, even with having PTSD, didn't know a lot of the stuff that we talked about. I didn't know
hmm
these kinds of stats. I didn't realize how many people out there really had PTSD. I just knew about my situation.
Right.
So this has been like amazingly informative, which makes me really excited for all of our future ones. So I just want to remind everybody that the first Saturday of every month, we are going to be doing, sponsored, because that's a word.
I ain't the only one messing
Sponsored
up words.
sponsored by My Stable Mind will be these mental health awareness podcasts. And this is the BPD one. We will announce closer to that date what next month's is, but we would definitely like people to continue to interact. On the page, they have been interacting all week long. We really
hmm
like to see that interaction because it lets us know what you want to hear.
I just want to
um
say, where it's PTSD. You just said BPD, but just not to confuse
PTSD.
FD.
It's PTSD. Yeah.
PTSD.
BPD is my other diagnosis, apparently, that I'm just throwing out there for everybody. We are going to do that sometime this year. We just don't know when yet. Um, well, we know when, you don't.
But yeah, tune in because, like I said, that's my driving force with my stable mind is letting people know that they are not alone and we're in this together. We're in this together. We're going to get you. I'm going to educate, do my best to educate you and point you in the right direction so you can get help. I offer life coaching services to help people to let them know that, whatever hurdles so we can get you hurdle over, I'm there to help you. And the moments that you need, we do identify that you need a licensed counselor, then, I'm there to point you in the direction to help you get that over to that licensed counselor or that help. There's abundance of information out there. Um, on Google, I know, um, but I wanted to let people know that if they're not alone, you can go out there, Google the support groups. I am going to be putting out information there for you, so you following my page, you can stay abreast to mental health awareness because that's something I'm going to be doing, pushing really hard this year is making a greater shine on mental health because I don't think there's enough mental health awareness going on right now because it really needs a spotlight on it.
I completely agree. Thank you so much for taking the time to do the research and all of that for this awareness podcast. Not only do I appreciate it, but I know all of our viewers do. So, y'all, as you watch this later, if you weren't joining us for the live, please feel free to send us any questions or any information that you may have. We would love to hear it. We would love to share it with other people. Um, and then next week, don't forget that Our Coffee with the Maries for our current events podcast will be at 8 a.m. So it's a
Yes.
little bit later, but that makes it easier for everyone to remember. We're live at 8 and 8. So that makes it easier for everybody to remember across the board. And nobody has to be like, hey, what time's the podcast again? Nope, 8 and 8.
Yeah,
So it's
you
8 a.m., 8 p.m. We're going to be here for you. So we will see you all next Saturday. But as for tonight, we are two people,
two opinions, real
real
talk.
talk. Y'all have a good
Good
night.
night.